Welcome to the latest printed press. My name is Aysen Djemal, and tonight we have a very special program. We have our independent MP candidate for Enfield North Ertan Karpazli with us. Welcome, Ertan, to our program.
Hiya, thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. How are you today? Have you had a busy day?
Yeah, it's been very, very busy, to be honest with you. Every day's been busy for the past 3 weeks, but got to keep going. 2 more weeks left to the election.
Yes. My first question for you will be, who is essentially Ertan Karpazli? For those audience members who don't know you, please could you explain yourself a little bit about your background?
Right, sure. So my name's Ertan Karpazli. I was born in Enfield in 1987. That makes me 37 years old. I've traditionally been a journalist throughout my career. I graduated in 2008 at the age of 21 from Middlesex University in creative and media writing. I took that degree with me to Turkey, where I started my journalism career, mainly working in the English language. So I started off at World Bulletin, then I moved on to TRT World, which is Turkey's English language world broadcaster. And then in 2019, I moved back to the UK and started working for My London, which is it covers more local stories around London. I come from a more journalistic background, but I've been considering a career in politics for a while now, and recent events have kind of pushed me towards that a lot more. And here I am, embarking on my first journey in politics.
Fantastic. I mean, that does lead me very nicely into my next question, which is why Enfield North? What made you go up as an independent candidate for that constituency?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I was actually born in Enfield, so I know the problems of Enfield very well. I experienced them firsthand as an Enfield resident myself. And I just felt that the people of Enfield generally, they don't feel that they're being listened to by their current MP or previous MPs prior to that. Um, Enfield, despite being one of the biggest boroughs in London, is often overlooked. There's a lot of poverty in Enfield. There's a lack of job opportunities for young people. Crime rates are increasing. There's a huge housing crisis in Enfield. And NHS waiting lists in Enfield are skyrocketing. And there's a number of things that are affecting Enfield residents. And it just seems that neither the Conservatives nor the Labour Party, the two main parties in this country, seem to be doing anything really for the people of Enfield. And I feel the people of Enfield feel that they're not really represented in Parliament. And that became ever more evident in the past couple of months, especially regarding what's going on in Gaza at the moment, when their most recent MP, Labour Party MP Ferrial Clark, who's also a candidate in this election as well, she abstained when it came to a parliamentary vote on November 15th calling for a ceasefire over there. And that really showed everyone that she doesn't really represent or embody the values of people in Enfield, the majority of whom would like to see a ceasefire. And outside of that, I've heard a lot of complaints about her, about how she's never in her office, about how she never replies to letters, and how she generally just has been quite a divisive MP in the way that she's done things. Perhaps favoritizing certain people over others and completely ignoring other people. And I just feel that the people of Enfield, Enfield North particularly, deserve a lot better. Now, I have a lot of friends and family and associates in Enfield North. I believe that if these people pull through, I could do very, very well. Perhaps even win the election. I'm in it to win it, end of the day. So that's why really I went for Enfield North, because I felt like it's a constituency where I can make an impact, and it's a constituency where people, my message will resonate with the people who live there. And I think so far it is, yeah.
I mean, specifically as an Enfield North candidate, then what do you hope to achieve for the local residents?
Well, ultimately, in a nutshell, what I would like to achieve if I do become the MP of Enfield North is I would like the people of Enfield North to feel empowered by my victory. I would like for them to feel that they have an MP who listens to them, who represents them, who carries their voice to Parliament. Because right now, at least based on the majority of Enfield North's constituents who I've spoken to, they feel that they don't have that. And just them feeling that they have an MP like that will really, I think, rouse them up and really give them a sense of self confidence and belief and hope that things will get better in the future. That is what I want to achieve in a nutshell. And I also want to represent people in Enfield North who often feel forgotten about in this kind of capitalist system. They often feel quite left behind. And I want to basically stand up for them and their values and what they believe in and their needs, basically. People in Enfield North, they need better access to council housing. They need better access to job opportunities. They need better education. Young people need, career paths to keep them away from crime, from extremism, from antisocial behavior, which are, major issues in the area. And we need to generally do something with the economy to help people who are living in places like Enfield North, where many people are on benefits below the poverty line and just struggling to make ends meet.
You previously mentioned in press statements that you wanted to be the voice for the Turkish Cypriots and Turkish speaking community. Can you please explain this further to our audience, as we have quite a big Turkish and Turkish Cypriot following here on You're Against TV?
Well, of course. Well, I am a Turkish Cypriot myself. I should have mentioned that probably at the beginning. My father was born in Cyprus, and my mother is Turkish Cypriot, but she was born in Tottenham, not far from where I'm running, just down the road. So I do kind of embody a typical British-born Turkish Cypriot, and we've been here around 75 years. I mean, my grandmother moved here, I think, in the late 50s or early 60s. So me as a family from my mum's side, we've been here for a long time. And in the 70, 75 years that we've been here, as a community, we've not really elected a Turkish Cypriot MP before. Not to take away from, there was one person who I can't remember his name now. I think his name was Hikmet or Fikret or something like that. He was half English, half Turkish Cypriot. But we've never really had a Turkish Cypriot who's going to stand up for Turkish Cypriot rights, who's going to stand up for Turkish Cypriot beliefs and, voice our concerns, especially regarding, for example, the lack of availability of direct flights to North Cyprus. That's something that affects around 300,000 Turkish Cypriots in the UK who are struggling, just to travel to their home country and visit their family members because of the lack of direct flights. We want to also tackle, or I want to tackle, the embargoes that have been placed on Turkish Cypriots as well, the international isolation that they're under. Now, a lot of people will question me about this, because it has been highly politicized, but I personally don't see this as a political issue. I see this as a human rights issue. Now, obviously, the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus is currently not a recognized country. It's only recognized by Turkey. So a lot of people will say, well, embargoes and the lack of direct flights is a consequence of the TRNC not being a recognized state. But there are many examples in the world where we have a state that is not recognized, or even a place that isn't necessarily a state. Now, we've got this obsession about nation states. Not every country in the world is a nation state. Not every country in the world is a member of the United Nations. You've got, even around Britain, for example, you've got like kind of crown colonies and dependencies, such as the Isle of Man, Jersey, Guernsey. These themselves are not nation states, yet They have direct flights. Gibraltar is not really a nation state. It has direct flights. So why can't the TRNC have direct flights? I mean, ultimately, the UK will look at Cyprus, and they won't see the TRNC. They'll see Cyprus as an island, just one island, right? But Cyprus has been a member of the British-led Commonwealth for so many decades now. Surely Britain has some kind of responsibility to ensure that there are direct flights going to all parts of the island, regardless of whether it's in the north or south. And Britain as well is party to the 1960 Treaty of Guarantee. Britain, along with Turkey and Greece, are still guarantors of security and peace on the island of Cyprus. So why is it that Britain is denying Turkish Cypriots the right? These are sovereign people of the island, sovereign Turkish Cypriot people of the island. Why is Britain denying their right to direct transport and travel? Why is Britain denying them the right to trade? And of course, we know what the situation in Cyprus is as well, don't we? It's a divided island, and some people say, oh, it needs to be a two-state solution. Some people say it needs to be united as a federation. There's many different opinions about that. And ultimately, I believe that it's not my place from the UK to dictate to the people who live in Cyprus, whether they're Turkish or Greek, what the future of their island should look like. But one thing's for certain, right now, there's nothing really incentivizing the Greek Cypriot side to take negotiations seriously. So these negotiations to reunite the island have been going on for 5 decades now, and it's got absolutely nowhere because the Greek Cypriots have all the leverage. So I feel that the UK needs to do something to even out the playing field so that the two sides, Turkish Cypriots and Greek Cypriots, can come together, negotiate as equals, and Britain as a guarantor state should help create the atmosphere that's necessary, the environment that's necessary to allow the Turkish and Greek Cypriots in Cyprus to come together and make a decision as to whether they want to go separate ways officially or whether they want to reunite. And right now, Britain is not playing their part there. So as an MP, I would be a British MP in the British Parliament. I would be actually in that Parliament calling for Britain to revise its policy on the TRNC and perhaps even go as far as recognizing the TRNC. Why not? If that's what it's going to take to get the Turkish Cypriots and Greek Cypriots at the same negotiation table where they can make a healthy and informed decision as equals, as equal sovereigns, then that's something that's worth trying, because clearly what Britain's been doing for the past 5 decades hasn't been working. And if Britain was to unlock that door, it will also unlock the door for many other countries around the world to do the same and to support the Turkish Cypriots to be recognized as equal sovereigns on the island. So that's definitely something I would be fighting for as an MP, as a Turkish Cypriot myself. And also I would be fighting for, obviously, the rights of all Turkish-speaking communities in my constituency, of which there are many. So it's not just the Turkish Cypriots there. We've got Turks from Turkey, we've got Kurdish communities from Turkey, we've got Turkish communities and Kurdish communities from Syria, from Iraq, we've got Turkish communities from Bulgaria, Macedonia, Romania, other Balkan countries. We are, as a people, Turkish-speaking people, we are underrepresented in all areas in this country. And I want to change that. I want to put us on the map the same way, the Pakistani community, for example, are on the map, the same way the Jamaican community are on the map, the Bangladeshis, the Somalis. It's about time the Turkish-speaking populations of North London got the recognition that they deserved as British citizens and residents.
Yes, and there's many of us, so I think that's really important.
Yeah.
You've made some really, really important points here, and
Thank you.
we will be sharing out this, our stream, so that all of our viewers get to hear this, because I think you've really stepped on something that's really, really important for our community. Thank you for that. On the issue of national issues, you mentioned your idea of the wealth tax. Could you please explain this further to our audience?
Right. So I'm sure a lot of the audience will relate to this. For too long, we as British citizens, nationals, residents, we've been under heavy austerity that's been implemented by the Conservative government, especially after the pandemic. We've been subject to, high inflation rates, high interest rates, increasing cost of living, the increasing cost of petrol. And this has affected all of us to the point where somebody who was on a decent salary and was considered middle class, 10 years ago, would today really be struggling to make ends meet, right? And as for the working class people who are on a much lower salary, honest to God, I don't know how they're surviving. I consider myself a worker. I'm a working person as well. I work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and I also my wife also earns a salary. We're living together. We're paying the rent together, and yet, we're struggling to even like bring together the resources to go on a decent holiday once a year. I mean, we all work so hard. Surely a decent holiday once a year is all right. Forget holidays. In the winter time, when we have to turn on the heating, we, just like many other British people, are having to decide whether we spend our money on food or on heating or gas and electricity. Why are we in this position? I mean, England's a very cold country. We turn the heating on till like April, May. Why is it that we're having to choose between one and the other? Are we living in a third world country? We're not living in a third world country. There is money in this country. It's just not being managed properly, and it's the hard-working people who are suffering the most. Whereas you've got these multi-billionaires, multi-millionaires who are getting rich off the back of our labor, our blood, sweat, and tears. They're not the ones who are turning up to work at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock every morning and logging into the computer. They're not the ones who are, working hard in the fields and in the factories. They're not the ones who are having to work a side job or a part-time job on the weekends, along with their full-time job, just to be able to help their family survive on a basic level. We're not being given our basic needs. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to make everyone rich. That's definitely not going to happen. But what I'm saying is it's time to stop putting more and more austerity on the poor and start turning it around a little bit and looking at the rich, right? Why are these people getting away with what they're getting away with, all their tax evasions and all their offshore sites? How about, instead of putting austerity on the poor, why don't we turn to the rich and say, every year we're going to look at your assets, how much wealth you have in terms of money in the bank and physical assets such as property, and we're going to take the value of 1%, just 1%, maybe 2% every year of your wealth, and we're going to put that into the treasury, and that's going to go forward to providing people better public services, more jobs. Now, I've not got all of the facts and figures on this because I'm not an economic expert. But one thing as an MP that I would love to do is commission this research to a team of experts who can find those facts and figures so I can argue for this in Parliament, because I believe it will work. And I believe, based on the minimal research that I've done, don't quote me on this, but I believe it is possible to even double the budget of the NHS. It's possible to increase the budget for schools, for public transport, for housing. We can provide more. We can generate more wealth just by taking a small amount from the rich and giving it back to the poor. And there are some people that will say, "Oh yeah, these rich people are going to leave the country because they don't want to pay this tax." Well, let's be honest, okay? Let's say 1% amounts to £100,000 for them, right? For them to pay every year. Now, for us, that sounds like a lot of money. For them, trust me, it's peanuts. For them, £100,000 is like £100 to us, right? Now, they're not going to go and sell their £5 million house in Kensington and Chelsea just to avoid paying this £100,000 tax every year. And if they were to be that stubborn to actually try and leave the country with their wealth and take that wealth away from this economy, well, how about we put a 40% exit tax on there? So you can't take your wealth away with you, not that much money. So I think if we were to do this and reinvest some of those funds into the working people, the ones who are actually um, holding this whole system from the bottom up, we can actually create a win-win situation, not just for the hard-working people who are, working class, but also for the wealthier people as well. And I believe that if we implement this tax revolution, I call it, properly, we can actually not only increase the money in the treasury and money for public services, we can also decrease, for example, income tax. Now, for me, it doesn't matter if you're earning 20 grand or 150 grand a year. If you're on a salary, you're a worker, right? And um, a lot of people on the left would talk, in a similar way to that I'm speaking now, but they want to punish the people who earn higher wages. I don't want to punish people who earn higher wages. I don't want to punish people who are in harder jobs. I definitely don't want to do that, because ultimately they're workers as well, and they deserve to get the money that they work for. But what I want to do is to take the money from the people who aren't working for it and give back to the people who are. So we can possibly lower income tax, we can possibly increase minimum wage, we can increase the tax-free allowance, we can lower the retirement age, we can increase pensions, we can create new jobs. And there are all sorts of things that I think we can do if we actually have uh, a wealth tax on the mega rich. And I would hope to be given the opportunity to commission that research, so that the next time I speak about it, I can produce proper facts and figures to that end.
Oh, it sounds like, lots of different ideas there. What do you think about our other national issues such as education and support for young people?
Well, this goes back to my wealth tax idea. Now, clearly, we can see that many young people in this country, no matter where they are, no matter what their background is, a lot of them are very disenfranchised. A lot of them have been sold a dream from a young age that they're going to finish school, they're going to go to university, they're going to get a degree, and then they're just going to walk into a job. And maybe that's how it used to be back in the day, right? I'm not denying that our parents' generation and their parents worked hard. They definitely worked hard. They probably worked a lot harder than we did, but they got to see the fruits of their labor. There was a time when, for example, my father in the 1990s, my father was just a factory worker. He wasn't a high earner, but based on his salary as a factory worker, he by himself was able to purchase a flat in Leytonstone, East London, in the 90s. Now, nowadays, two working people, a husband and wife, for example, would struggle to actually do that together. A single working person, especially on the wage of a factory worker, would not be able to do that at all. So there's a lack of opportunities for young people, especially who are first-time buyers. That's without a doubt, because the interest rates are so high, or the house prices are so high, and that's even if they can get onto the payroll, if they can even get jobs within a good time after their graduation, because a lot of them, like myself, they struggle to, they might find a job in terms of, like, I don't know, working as a security guard or something, or working in like a Costa, or working in a WH Smith. They might find jobs like that, but these are not the jobs that they've studied for. These are not the jobs that they're aiming for. So what we need to do is, by revolutionizing the economy, by revolutionizing the tax system, we can actually dedicate more funds towards the education system, so that, and make the curriculum, for example, more engaging for young people, which will motivate them to work harder and to get their qualifications and to stay in school. We can provide more training, real life, realistic training that's actually going to benefit people, young people, in their everyday lives. Now, I feel this is where the curriculum often falls short. We're teaching them, English, math, science. Of course, we need to teach them these things. But when a young person enters the working world, for example, they don't know how to do their taxes. Who's going to teach them how to do their taxes? Fill out all of these forms.
Practical.
A lot of,
Yes,
a lot of
about
young,
life.
a lot of young people nowadays, they don't even know what their national insurance number is, or they don't even know what their postcode is. They don't know how to read an analog clock. Like, this is how disengaged and disenfranchised they are, right? And why do you think that they're so addicted to social media, and they fall to the pressures of social media, or they fall to the pressures of organized crime gangs? Why are they so drawn to these things? It's because they don't have anything that gives them purpose. They don't have anything that gives them self-belief. They don't have a pathway or a goal to work towards. This is, we are failing as a country when it comes to giving young people these things. And we definitely need to revise our education and training system, and we need to give young people something to work towards. And no matter what it is, no matter how they're going to gain their skills or how they're going to, enter the working world, we need to make sure that at no point in their growing up that they are left like on the sidelines, or left on the lurch, or left not knowing what to do. We need to hold their hand through the entire process. Otherwise, they will turn to drugs. They will turn to crime and antisocial behavior and extremism, right? We've seen a rise of all sorts of extremism in the past few years, and a lot of that is stemming from young people. And it's a lot of people like to deflect it and say, "Oh, it's coming in from abroad." But let's be real here. Let's look at the latest incidents of attacks and things like that. A lot of it has been homegrown. A lot of it has been homegrown. So you
Yes,
can't blame it on overseas problems. No, it's a problem in this country, and we need to start by fixing it in this country.
definitely. Thinking about the importance of using your vote and voting on the 4th of July, why should people vote and vote for you?
Well, you should vote in general, first of all, because it's your right. And you shouldn't take that right for granted. There are still many people in the world, perhaps even the majority of people in the world, who don't have that right. I've met people my age who have come from certain countries and have said to me that they've never once had the right to vote in a democratic election. They don't know what voting is. And they would die, honestly, they would die to have the opportunities and the freedoms that we have in this country. And they would put that vote to good use, I'm sure they would. But what we need to do in a so-called, at least, democratic country where we do have the right to vote is we need to first of all vote for you know ourselves and our local community and our country, but we also need to exercise our votes in a way that will help people in the world who don't necessarily have the right to vote, people in the world who are often left behind, to make this world a better place. And that onus is on us. It's not so much on them when they don't have any voice. It's on us, people that do have that right to exercise. And also, we need to add a bit of humanity into politics, I think, because a lot of the kind of regular people, a lot of people that are decent people, but are very disenfranchised by the political system, they don't vote because they feel that there's no one there to represent them. There's no one there that's doing anything for them. They say all the parties are the same. We've heard all of the excuses, and maybe that is true, or that has been true in the past, right? Um, but if you're not engaging in the political system, you can't expect it to change. And the change isn't going to happen overnight. The change will come over a long period of time. But if you don't start struggling from now, it's never going to happen. Every avalanche starts from a snowball. So each one of us have to be that snowball, and we need to all come together and eventually cause that avalanche. Now, me, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be that snowball. I'm trying to be that individual who's trying to begin the process of change. And maybe I might not see that change in my lifetime. Who knows? It could take a very, very long time. But if we don't start now, it's never going to happen. I want my kids, I don't have kids yet, but I want my kids, when I do have them, to grow up in a world where, for example, genocide is not the norm, right? We cannot live in a world where the International Criminal Court and the International Court of Justice, their rulings and their orders and their verdicts are being ignored and belittled and laughed at. We can't live in a lawless society, right? And that's the direction we're heading in, because people that have the power to stop this and people that have the power to protest against this aren't turning up to vote. They're not even registering to vote. Now, unfortunately, it's too late to register to vote because the deadline was passed on the 18th of June. But for those of you who are, I urge you, please turn up at your polling station on July the 4th and vote with your heart. I'm not saying vote for me specifically. I'm saying vote with your heart and vote for a party that will stand for positive change, or a candidate rather, party or candidate. But why you should vote for me specifically, if you're living in Enfield North, that is. If you don't live in Enfield North, unfortunately, you can't vote for me. But if you're living in Enfield North, why you should vote for me is because I'm from Enfield, right? I know what you go through every single day because I go through the same thing myself every single day. I get stuck in those same traffic jams. I get stuck on those in the same waiting list to go see a doctor or a dentist. I'm experiencing the same things that you're experiencing. I'm having problems with my rent the same way you're having problems with your rent, and you guys don't at the moment, I feel, and I'm sure you feel as well, don't have an MP that really understands what you're going through, right? They might know what you're going through, but do they really understand it? Do they feel it in their heart? Are they going through it themselves? So that's one of the reasons why you should vote for me. And also, I'm not a politician, okay? Now, politica actually is a Greek word, for those of you who might know Greek. Poly means many or multiple, and tika means face or faces, right? So politica basically means multiple faces, or in English we might say two-faced. Now, me, I'm not a politician. I don't even know how to lie, even if I wanted to lie, right? I'm terrible at that. So I'm not even going to bother trying to lie to you. What you see is what you get with me. And we need someone, I think, who's not a politician, who's not being corrupted by the process that many politicians go to get to where they are, to get to the point of being an MP. We need someone who's a little bit unorthodox, someone who thinks outside of the box, someone who has come from a different direction, from a different angle, with new, fresh ideas and new approaches. And that's what I am. If you want change, then you're going to need someone who's different. But if you're happy with the way things are and your life is all hunky dory, then by all means, go continue voting the same way you've been voting for every other election before this one. But from what I'm hearing on the streets, most people are not happy. Most people want change. Well, if you want change, you're not going to get that by voting Labour or Conservative. I'll tell you that much here.
Yes. I mean, someone's written, saw your slogan, vote for principle, not party. Very true, which, sort of summarizes a little bit what you've just said. If people want to get in contact with you, Ertan, if they wish to ask you any questions, how can they do that?
Okay, well, I'm on every social media platform you can think of. So Facebook, Twitter, which is now called X, Instagram, even for this election, I've opened a TikTok account. And I usually hate TikTok. I vowed that I would never open a TikTok account. But here I am using TikTok. I'm not very good at using it, to be honest with you. But, I do my best. And, on YouTube as well. So anyone can just get in touch with me on any of those platforms, or you can email me directly. It's basically my name, Ertan Karpazli @gmail.com, or for those of you who pronounce it in English, Ertan Karpazli. at
Ertan,
gmail.com.
yes.
However you pronounce it, I don't mind. And you can pose me a question there, and also I'll try my best to respond within 24 hours, but please forgive me if I don't, because I am very busy going into this election. And if you want to actually meet me in person, I'm holding a public assembly at Ark John Keats Academy, which is on Bell Lane in Enfield, on the 26th of June, which is next Wednesday. And the assembly is going to be between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. So please feel free to come along if you are a resident of Enfield North. If you want to ask me any questions, I'll be introducing myself to the attendees there, and I'll be basically briefing them a little bit about what I stand for. And I'm also going to be maybe managing a few breakout groups and getting feedback from people who have turned up, and maybe hearing a little bit about what they would like to see me stand for if I become an MP. So it's going to be a bit of give and take. So yeah, please come by, and I have to say this actually, make sure that you at least bring a bottle of water, because it's probably going to be a hot day. And as a political candidate, I'm not legally allowed to provide food and drink, unfortunately. Otherwise, I'd give kebab to everyone.
When you get it, when you become the MP,
yeah.
that's what we expect. Yeah, it's going to be very hot temperatures next week, I believe. So yes, we're looking forward to that. Any final thoughts and messages to our public before we close the program, Ertan?
Yeah, I am independent. That doesn't mean I'm alone. I do have the endorsement of the Enfield Community Action Group, which is basically a coalition of community leaders and a few left-wing groups, such as socialists, a couple of trade unions. So I do have that endorsement. I am cooperating with other independent MPs who are running in different constituencies. So, for example, if you live in Edmonton and Winchmore Hill, I'm supporting Khalid Sadur in that constituency. He's also backed by the Enfield Community Action Group. And in Southgate and Wood Green, we've got Carl Vidal. He's also from the Enfield Community Action Group. So as independent candidates, we're all supporting each other, basically, and we all more or less stand for the same principles. Saying that, I don't have a big budget and I don't have a big team. So any donation is welcome. You could simply search up my crowdfunder, which I've posted. I've pinned at the top of my Facebook and my Twitter pages, and then just click on the link there and make whatever donation you like. But more importantly, what I need is, I've got a couple of volunteers, but everyone can do one thing, and that is simply help spread the word. Excuse me. So, for example, if I'm talking to you, you surely know 10 people who you can talk to in Enfield North to tell them about me. And they surely know 10 people each as well that they can talk to. So when I'm speaking to one person, it will be like I'm speaking to 100 people, because I can't get round 85,000 people by myself. It's impossible. So if we spread the word like that, we can actually make a huge impact. I've actually calculated that. Sorry. I've calculated that on a good day, if everyone keeps their promise to vote for me, they turn up, they vote for me. If every potential supporter of my cause turns up, we could even get 30,000 votes. Now, with 30,000 votes, we'll win the election. Ferrier Clark, who has been MP for Labour Party in Enfield North for the past 4 or 5 years, won the last election with 23,000 votes. Now, I'm sure she's going to gain a lot of votes from former Tory voters who are leaving the Tory party and going towards Labour. But there are also a lot of Labour Party, typical Labour Party voters who are moving away from Labour and coming towards me. So there is a chance that if I was to get, as many votes as possible, that even though I'm an independent, and independents usually don't win, especially on their first time, it's not impossible for me to win. So we've got to be optimistic. We've got to work hard. We've got to work as a unit. And at the same time, I've got one more thing I want to add. I've got a billboard, which is
Yes, we've
up
seen
on the
it.
corner of Clarence Road and Ponders End High Street. Now, I paid almost £2,000 out of my pocket for a month for that billboard. Trust me, it's dented my pocket really badly. But I wouldn't be paying that much money from my pocket if this isn't something I believed in. Now, I've done that from the goodness of my heart because it's what I sincerely believe in. The least that I ask of people is that if they're walking past that billboard, please stop, take a picture, ideally a selfie, and upload it onto social media, send it to your friends, tag them, talk about it a little bit. TikTok is a great medium to do that. And just help spread the word like that, honestly. That would be a big help. I'm only giving people a choice. The choice is ultimately up to the people. But the more people learn they have that choice, I believe the more likely it is that we'll get perhaps even the first Turkish Cypriot MP in British history, and that could possibly be me.
That would be absolutely awesome. We wish you the best of luck, Ertan. This was our interview on the latest printed press for our independent MP, Ertan Karpazli, for Enfield North. And yes, we've got a few more messages coming in. Erin Meto has said, good luck, buddy. So, yeah, I mean, our community are rooting for you. And hopefully a lot of them will be. You just tell us again, when can they find you? Where are you meeting? What's the date and when?
The public assembly will be held on the 26th of June, which is next Wednesday, at 7 p.m. at Arc John Keats Academy on Bell Lane.
Brilliant,
So,
brilliant. And we'll add that. Yes, we'll add that to the end of the program so people know that. And yeah, thank you very much, Ertan. We wish you the best of luck. It's been great.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you.